In this presentation, I'm going to look at reformulation as a method of error correction in supporting learners' progress. If a student makes an error, we can generally classify these errors into three types. Firstly, when an error is made, generally the student doesn't know that they have made the error, and they won't be able to correct themselves without assistance. Secondly, a mistake may happen when the student is trying out the language and may just have made a mistake on a language rule. Third, a slip or lapse may happen, but the student is able to correct him or herself. In a conventional class, if a student makes an error, the teacher has to make decisions on how to deal with the error. This is done by giving the students formal error correction. Some things the teacher has to consider are whether to give the error correction or not, who corrects the error, when will the error correction be made, and what error correction technique will be used. There are obvious advantages to this form of error correction, but it also comes with its problems. The students may lose motivation, and is what was thought to be an error really an error? Has an assumption been made on what the student already knows? And is the teacher correcting the error or the student? I would like to examine a technique developed by Michael Lewis. In his book, The Lexical Approach, Lewis describes a method of error correction he calls reformulation. Lewis takes a softer approach to error correction. His guiding principles are developed relying on the thought that the main aim is communication in a foreign language. He recognizes there may be three reasons why an error was made. Possibly interference from their L1, a lexical deficiency, and partial mastery of the language. In a sense, he is taking a more humanistic approach to error correction. Lewis states, what is needed is a way of responding without correcting in the narrow sense. In Lewis's reformulation approach, there is more importance put on exposing students to correct language. Reliance is placed on students' receptive skills, which will help them to notice gaps in their own language. The aim is for students to notice how language is typically used. It is important for the students to notice this input, so that they can use it as intake. All said, reformulation should be a natural response to student error. This will keep the student's attention and motivation alive. It can also be argued that reformulation allows an optimal learning ratio of positive to negative comments. Here are some examples of reformulation.
They don't understand her.
Yeah, and if we can't talk with her, then they just play themselves.
They just go off and they play by themselves.
Yeah, by themselves. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't talk with my daughter in English, but sometimes we watch the cartoon movie together.
You watch cartoons together?
Watch cartoon movie together, and sometimes
recently I because I really love poetry.
Yeah.
So now I just do many translation.
Okay. You do a lot of translations.
Yeah. Translated like this.
Usually at morning I will like listening some news.
You'll listen to the news.
Listen to the
In the
news.
morning.
Yeah, BBC news, sometimes CNN. The Chinese they always say Chinese is difficult than English.
Chinese is, I would say, it is more difficult.
It's more difficult
than English.
More difficult, yeah.
Because I think.
But there are also drawbacks to reformulation. It's not easy to implement this approach in a large class, and it has been debated that this approach will allow the fossilization of errors to occur.